There's a couple more details I can add to make this a little bit more realistic. One has to do with the cape movement. So I would imagine that after he jumps, the cape sort of would go directly behind him and flutter in the wind a little bit. So let's go into our animation, close everything down, and then with the cape, what I'm going to do is, let's bring up the keyframes for just the arm left so I can see what's going on, where those keyframes are. So I'm going to set a keyframe for rotation of the cape here. Then let's go down to the squat, and the cape is going to rotate just a little bit up like so. But what happens is now it's going over his shoulder like this, which I don't like, but that's okay. We'll adjust that in a second. I'll copy this keyframe right here, and then at 3 seconds, we will rotate back down. Maybe even just like, oh, yeah, that looks pretty good actually. So now, cool. Now let's easy ease these. So F9 on your keyboard. And it would probably be good to match the speed of the other keyframes, but it doesn't necessarily have to match. And that's one thing with character animations, changing the speed just a little bit, making subtle differences so that this graph editor doesn't look exactly the same can make things look a little bit more organic. But what I don't like is how this sort of pops up over that corner. And that's with the path of this cape. So let's go down, open up our contents, open up shape layer 3, path, and set a keyframe right here. Now let's zoom in here, go to our next keyframe, click on path, and I'll take this down like so. And maybe we might even, move this up just a little bit, move it around just to get some sort of organic movement. Then go here, copy and paste this keyframe, go to our next one. And here we might want to change our path a little bit too. So click on path, bring this down. You would imagine that the cape would change just a little bit. Something like that. Okay, that looks pretty good. So let's zoom out and see what this looks like. Awesome, so that's looking pretty cool. Let's add some easy ease. Looks like it's blowing a little bit in the wind while he's, stomping down on the ground while he's crouching. But we want to add a little bit more fluttering effect while he's going up and down. And we can just do that with the path animation. So let's go up, just half a second. Let's change the path just a little bit. So let's take all these keyframes. So what I can do is just click and drag over them. So again, what I did was click path down here with my selection tool, click and drag over all of these and drag to the right. So those are just dragging those ones on the bottom, not the path points up here. So now if I go back to 4 seconds, I can drag these to the left. Go to 4.5 seconds, drag these to the right. So now that gives a little fluttering effect. And so if I play through this at the end, okay, it's a little bit too slow. So I can just make these faster. I like making it a little organic, so I can copy and paste some of them, just repeat. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Okay, it'll look better in our other composition with the background to give us more context. So now we have the cape. Oh yeah, that looks good. Okay, cool. So now we're getting that more flying effect. Nice. One other detail I'm going to go in and add a little bit of a head rotation. So here, let's again bring up our rotation for the arm, or our keyframes for the arm. For rotation for the head, so press R, click the stopwatch to set a keyframe. Then when he goes down to his crouch, I'm going to rotate just slightly back, just like so. And then copy this keyframe there, go here and copy this first one. And add easy ease. My favorite, easy ease. Now if we play through, he has just a subtle head tilt back, which I think works good, adds a little bit more detail. Nice. I am really enjoying how this looks. I'm going to do one more little detail, and that's with the mouth. So if I go in, what I'm going to try to do with the mouth, and I'll have to go into my head, I'll have to go into my contents and find the mouth, which I think is it the shape 4? Yes, it's shape 4, so I can turn that on and off. I want the mouth to kind of widen and then purse up while he flies. And so you make that sort of more of a grimace when you crouch down or when you're working hard. So that's what it's going to look like here when he's crouching down. And the way I'm going to do it is add a trim paths animation. So I can click this add button here, go to trim paths, make sure that it's in our shape 4. If it happened outside of trim shape 4, just make sure you drag it into shape 4. Now I'm going to set a keyframe for the start and end here. Go to the top where he's standing up. And then I'm going to drag the start into like 20% and the end into 80%. So the mouth gets smaller, it gets a little wider. Copy these keyframes here, and then when he jumps up, copy these first keyframes, and his mouth is going to get a little bit bigger. See that? Really subtle, not necessary, but just makes it a little bit more dynamic. Cool. And let's add easy ease. Select all of them, easy ease. Now we've added all of these little details, and I'm actually going to wait until next lesson to add the texture because I think that's a completely different type of lesson. But we really have our basic character animation, and you can see that it's all about these little details, animating stroke, animating rotation, using what we did right here, trim paths to animate a line that is the mouth of our character. And of course, adding the background too, which gives more context to our motion. I hope you're enjoying it, and I'll see you in the next lesson for adding that texture.